Welcome to the Diverse Minds podcast, where we give you the tips, tools, and techniques you need to be a mentally healthy and inclusive leader. Each week, you'll hear about a variety of topics linked to mental health, wellbeing, and diversity that will enhance both your professional practice and personal wellbeing. Welcome to the 137th episode of the award-winning Diverse Minds podcast. And as you know, for April, the theme is all about music and mental health. So on today's episode, I'm going to be sharing with you the 11 tracks that boost my mental well-being. Unfortunately, I can't play them on the show due to licensing regulations, but I have created a playlist as part of the episode to share with you. The link is in the show notes. So if you want to listen along or listen afterwards, you can do. And I'd really love to hear from you as listeners as well. To make this super easy, I've created a place online where you can leave me a voice note anonymously or leaving your name called SpeakPipe. You can choose. So the link is in the show notes, but I also wanted to mention it at the beginning. If you go to bit.ly/SPK, so for speak, SPK, P, DMP. So that's bit.ly/SPK, P, DMP, and you'll hear a little 30-second clip from me, voice only, and you can leave your response through your phone if you just click that around tunes that boost your mental health, what you thought of the show, what you enjoyed about it. So in last week's episode, number 136, I talked about how music supports mental health and well-being. I used research, I referred to some studies that had been done, how people enjoy music in a language that they don't understand. And so for today, I really wanted to share with you the tracks and songs that have supported me and boost my well-being and hopefully find yours out. So as I said, that we use music in different ways. We can listen to it, but we can also sing either well or badly as part of a choir around the house, chanting as part of our religious practices, playing musical instruments, dancing to music, songwriting, or indeed making songs up with our children or our family members. It's something I've definitely done, making up stupid songs when I've been struggling with people and meetings, etc. We use it for relaxing. We meditate to music and having it in the background to help us with the task in hand. And at the end of the episode, I talked about how playlists can really help with our day-to-day mental well-being. So here's a deep dive into each one of my 11 songs and why they work for me the way they do. So kicking off, the first song on my playlist for songs that boost my mental well-being, and I've had to limit it to 11 for the episode, but when you hear the playlist, if you do go and listen to it, there are more songs there that you can have a look at. And in fact, we could always just keep adding to them. Now, these are songs I really enjoy and I like, but of course, we all have lots of lists, don't we, for songs that make us feel a particular way or just songs that we completely love. So this is a mix. So song number one is Back to Life by the wonderful Soul to Soul featuring Karen Wheeler. And in fact, this was the very first album I bought on cassette tape when I was 12 or 13. And I think anyone who knows the song, it's a real British institution. And there's a YouTube channel, and I can't remember the two wonderful young men, they're twins, that run it. And they listened to this song, they're African American, and they just fell in love with it. But it really is a British institution. And I think, how can this song not lift you up? It's, like hip hoppy, it's got touches of gospel. Karen's voice is so beautiful. So that was my song number one. The second song is Dark Therapy by Echo Belly. Now, those of you who grew up in the 90s or were teenagers in the 90s like me would be familiar with indie music, particularly in the UK. This album came out in 1995. And I think for me, Echo Belly were very interesting at the time. I mean, you don't really get many now, South Asian British women fronting up bands. But so Sonia Madan was a real beacon at her time. And in fact, Echo Belly did a tour quite recently in autumn 2021. And sadly, I couldn't go because I didn't feel safe due to COVID still being present. But Dark Therapy, this song makes the hairs on my skin stand up, on the back of my neck stand up. It's very wistful, it's very atmospheric, it's just very beautiful. And of course, I think growing up where you had very few visible role models, Sonia Madan was someone absolutely that I looked up to. So it reminds me of that. Third song, fast, punchy. Again, if you grew up in the 90s, you probably knew it. You probably love it. When you hear it now, it must bring back memories for you. Is Song 2 by Blur. 2 minutes and 2 seconds. It packs a powerful punch. It reminds me of going to, the odd party that I went to as a young teenager. And it just really kind of revs you up for anything that you have to do, and it's super quick. So if you don't have time between meetings, you can normally squeeze it in. The fourth song is Naxalite by the wonderful Asian Dub Foundation. And anyone that knows me knows that I adore Asian Dub Foundation. And people think it's really retro. People think, oh, they don't, what's happened to Asian Dub Foundation? They are still touring. And they released a single actually before Christmas with the wonderful Stuart Lee around immigration, or people's ridiculous attitudes around immigration and asylum seekers. So do check that out. They also tweeted me, because when I found out about the single they released for Christmas, I said they'd really helped me through really tough times and when I was experiencing racism. So if you want to know more about that, do check out episode number 41, Racism and Genuine Allyship. And they retweeted it. And so that was really lovely. And they have saved my skin many times, actually, Asian Dub Foundation, not just through their music, but some of you might know that in 2005-6, it's actually 2005. In 2005, I went to do volunteer work in Barcelona doing immigrant support work. And it was really, really tough. And Asian Dub Foundation actually were playing at one of the record stores, and I went along, and I don't know how I can't remember now how I got talking to one of their roadies, and I explained the situation. He went, why don't you come to our gig? Here's some free tickets, bring a friend. And they put me on the guest list. So the song Naxalite and the immortal words and the land is ours. Again, if you listen to it, it's just Asian Dub Foundation have a really unique sound. Again, a band that were fronted by South Asian Brits wasn't that common, still not as common as it should be now. But yes, that is my fourth song that really makes me feel motivated and really does lift my mood, about reclamation, about occupation, about taking things back. Song number 5 is Runnin' by the Far Side. And this song has an interesting story again as well, because I came across Far Side from a friend at my sixth form college, Justin Moreno, who is an artist now. And he made me a tape of the Far Side. And I really fell in love with the Far Side. And I really, love their music, the kind of original hip hop sounds. And then when I went to do the volunteer work in Barcelona, I hadn't seen him since sixth form. So this must have been 4 or 5 years later. And I was in the street and I turned around and he was there. And I hadn't seen him for a really long time, and we'd lost touch. And he said to me, I've been trying to find you. I've been trying to find out what happened to you. So we kind of got to be friends again. And in fact, the Far Side played in Barcelona. We went to the gig together. So that reminds me of that and reminds me of the kind of journey. And I also really just love the music and how it lifts me up. Okay, song number 6 is Crazy in Love by Beyonce and Jay-Z. Now, this song is not because I was crazy in love at the time. This song is because it was played every single place all the time. And I was a student union officer at the University of Leeds, and myself and my other elected officers, we would have the radio on in the office, and then we'd go out in the evenings and it would be playing. Some dear friends, when they had house parties, it would always be playing. And I remember with one friend dancing, she had crudités on the table, sort of celery and carrots, and we were dipping them in the dips that she'd made and kind of dancing around the kitchen to this. So it just reminds me of kind of post-university times, dancing with my friends, that time where you don't have any responsibilities. And yeah, it is just a great song, isn't it? Song number 7 is Creep's Show by the Plump DJs from their album Eargasm. And this also reminds me of going out at university and being with friends. And when I really got into sort of more electronic dance music, it's just a brilliant song. It's a brilliant album. Really love Plump DJs. And in fact, I was listening to it on full blast in my office quite recently, and I tweeted about it and they retweeted it. So big up the Plump DJs as well. Song number 8 is Signs by Budmash and Shri. And they are another sort of duo that I really loved. And in fact, I rediscovered this quite recently. It came up on an automatic You Might Like. And I thought, oh my goodness, I haven't heard this song for so long. And again, it just took me right back to being at university, being at house parties, being with friends, being in cafes, having those discussions. And then, that album Signs is brilliant. And that's the track of the same title. Song number 9 is In the Beginning by Kanan. And he has a really unique sound. He hasn't released anything since 2012. Obviously, his song Flags for one of the World Football Cups was released everywhere. I think it was it sponsored by Coca-Cola? Don't quote me on that. But I really love In the Beginning, and I really love Kanan's songs. And if you listen to the episode around what noughts and crosses can teach us, I have a playlist there, and I've put one of his other songs in that playlist. It just makes me think, and I just think the chorus is really catchy. I find it really just really uplifting. Then song number 10 is Levitate Your Mind by Letters from Ndegwa by Degs and Unglued. So this is the drum and bass. I could have put so much more drum and bass in here, but I didn't want to be a one-trick pony. Really love Degs' music, what he does, the way he DJs, the way he sings, the way he puts music together. And just this track, like Levitate Your Mind, but also if you listen to it, you'll hear the kind of soft drum and bass, you'll hear the sounds in it. It's really rich, it's really layered, incredibly uplifting. And then song number 11 is Tidy by Kokoroko, who I discovered actually in lockdown. And they have a couple of EPs, and then they've got an album on streaming services and out and about. Again, really beautiful. They use a lot of sounds from around the world into their jazz. It's melodic, it's relaxing, it's also uplifting, and it has a really unique feel to it. So there are my 11 tracks. So as I said, when you hear the playlist, there are actually 22 on there, but I couldn't talk about them all on this podcast episode. I think you'd be quite bored listening to it. But I really hope that you are enjoying the content of this podcast and you want to keep up to date with the work that I do. Then please join my bi-monthly newsletter. The link is in the show notes, but I'm also going to let you know you can go to bit.ly/DMSYNR. And is this your first show, or are you a regular listener? So if you enjoyed this episode, please, why not leave me a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcast from, and you can leave a review. And so I really hope this has been interesting for you. I would love to hear your stories about your playlist or the tracks that really lift your mood. And also, don't forget, I'd love to hear from you, and you can leave me an anonymous message on SpeakPipe, and the link is in the show notes, and also at bit.ly/SPKPDMP. Until the next episode, where we're going to be talking to Crystal Luke Worrell about being a music therapist and how music can be used in a therapy setting. Take care, everyone. I wish you all the best and happy listening. Bye for now.
Thanks for listening to the Diverse Minds podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you access your podcasts from. You can also connect with me on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Tune into next week's episode of the podcast, where I'll bring you more insights on mental health and inclusion. Bye for now.